Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Power Boost. Today, we'll talk about being catalysts for change. And change is such a dear thing for all of us that we all want something or the other to change in our lives. Maybe it is our boss that we want to change. Maybe it is our car we want to change. We want to change our wife, or we want to change our children. We want to change the status that we have in the society. We all yearn for change in some respect or other. I'm joining from Peace Village, Learning and Retreat Center of the Brahma Kumaris. My name is Kanu Priya, and we are up in the Catskill Mountains in New York. And today we would like the weather to change because it has been raining continuously since last few days. And change is something that we definitely want in our lives. Einstein once said that no problem can be solved at the same level of consciousness that created it. So to bring about change, one is, of course, we have to accept that change is required. And also, new knowledge is needed to help us change what we would like. And as we all are very convinced by now that in the outer world, nothing outside of us is can be controlled by us. It is bound to change, but maybe not as per our expectations. So, what do we do in this sort of scenario where we can be the catalyst for the change that we would like to see in the world that we are living in the people that we are interacting with, in the possessions that we have, in the position that we have, everything that is surrounding us. How can we bring about positive change and be that catalyst? So, first of all, like Einstein said, that some new consciousness is needed, and for that, the new knowledge. If we take the example of butterfly, right? It starts with the caterpillar. Its world is cabbage and ground and leaves and dirt. But then something happens that transforms, uh, helps the butterfly or the caterpillar transform into the wings and get wings and then fly and becomes a beautiful butterfly. So, similarly, if we look at the spiritual context, the world, we may not be able to change as much as we would like it to change. But what we could do is to bring that inner transformation, feed ourselves with some knowledge about our inner self, our inner being, which is what will change the perspective about the world that we live in. And it is a very simple exercise to be able to do that. But first of all, understanding really the world that we live in and who we really are, that really helps. And this inner being we call the soul, the point of light, that living being is the only being that is immortal. And that is the truth of all of us. And as we see that this living being is interacting with various objects and various um, things of matter, various nature elements, and other people, this living being is actually constant, whereas all the other things that we just mentioned, they are perishable. And the more we look at just this one factor, that the living being is imperishable, whereas everything else is perishable, that changes the perspective. At, at some level, we do know this fact that we are not going to live here forever, that at least this is not going to live here forever. But the one that is living always forever is the one that we should be more focused on and look at the perspective of the world from that angle, from someone who is living forever, and not scared or not being panicky or not being anxious about anything, any change. And once we start to live like this, we can bring about positive change, because the moment we start to look at ourselves as immortal beings, imperishable beings who are beyond harm, beyond any kind of damage anybody can cause, because we are subtle points of light, we start to feel very, very safe. And safety is a place where we can bring about positive change, not based out of any unpleasant or negative feeling that we have to bring about change, but out of benevolence and out of greater good for the self, and feelings of greater good for the society also. And this very simple exercise in the meditation will help us today in starting to develop that perspective. It is a baby step that we can take towards developing the perspective of being that living light who's imperishable. And we see how a chain reaction for change, positive change, can be brought about just by bringing the change at an individual level, can bring about a wider change. You know, they say one bird flies and the whole flock starts to fly along with that. So if we can take that responsibility of bringing inner change by focusing on truth about ourselves, we start to see that the whole world around us starts to change. And definitely no need to avoid the boss or the neighbor who we want to change, or even the weather. We can still enjoy it very much. So let us begin with some meditation. And we can follow the words as they are spoken. Just choose any comfortable sitting posture wherever you are. It could be standing too if you are traveling in a subway, or just standing anywhere while listening. The important thing for us to note is that body should be relaxed. Breathing can be in a normal rhythm. We don't really need to close our eyes. Just choose any fixed point in front of you and gently gaze at that point. We slowly steer our mind towards our inner life. we start by seeing the contrast between the inner life and the outer life. Outside, things may be moving and changing, something happening, sound, light. But the inner life is absolutely stable, constant. The inner life is of this invisible, tiny point of light. The living, conscient being. The world of this point of light is beyond change, beyond time, beyond sound. This inner being cannot be harmed by anyone because he's subtle, cannot be touched. He is separate from everything that is non-living, including this body. And as we look at the contrast clearly between the one that is constant and everything else that is changing, we start to see that the constant one is interacting with various objects, people, things of matter, nature, for a temporary period of time. And so it makes sense for the one who can see this contrast clearly to see this temporary interaction as it is, to accept that everything that these eyes can see is temporary. And so he cannot own anything. He cannot call anything as mine. Something that is temporary can never be mine. The one who can see the contrast has this clarity. It is not wise to call things that change and have an end as mine. And this flips the whole perspective. It is good to be used. Everything is good to be used for a temporary period of time. There's no sense of ownership. Frees us at all levels. Frees us from negative emotions like fear, anxiety, and a deep sense of peace and calm starts to seep in. Something that was not mine to start with. And it's not just about objects or people, also this body. Something that was not mine, I can never lose. It was anyways bound to change. This calm and peace is very precious, invaluable. To bring about change in the way we interact with everything and everyone. So for the rest of the day, we will aim to come into this perspective of the inner being. See the change within the self and outside. Thank you and have a very good day ahead.